Welcome to today's explainer. We are digging deep, way down beneath the surface, past the plants and animals we all know, to explore a hidden, ancient, and incredibly powerful kingdom of life that, believe it or not, shapes our entire world. It's a realm of silent networks, of extreme survivors, and the fundamental architects of both life and death. So, let's explore this unseen kingdom together.
Okay, I want you to picture something. Go back in your mind about 400 million years. There are no forests, no birds, no flowers. It's a pretty alien landscape, right? Mostly just some low-lying plants and the very first insects. But what if I told you that towering over this strange world were structures, some reaching 20 feet into the air, that weren't trees at all? What if the largest, most dominant life form on land was actually a fungus?
These things were called prototaxites. And for decades, scientists who found their fossils were completely stumped. Was it a weird plant, a giant lichen? Nobody knew. But the modern thinking, based on all the chemical evidence, is that, yep, they were fungi. I mean, just think about that for a second. This wasn't some little mushroom hiding in the corner. This was a giant dominating the land long before trees even got the chance. It just goes to show you how ancient and how powerful this unseen kingdom really is.
So today, we're going to go on a journey to really understand this hidden world. We'll start by talking about what fungi really are, because they're so much more than a mushroom. Then, we'll zoom in on the microbial world that literally forms the foundation of our soil. After that, we'll untangle this incredible wood wide web, which is basically the forest's own internet. Then, we'll see how these organisms are nature's ultimate recyclers, find out how they can survive in the most extreme places you can imagine, and finally, we'll see how we're just now starting to partner with them to build a better future.
All right, first things first, we've got to reset what we think a fungus is. When you hear that word, you probably picture a mushroom, right? But that's like looking at an apple and calling it the whole tree. The mushroom is just the visible, reproductive part. To really get it, we need to look at its anatomy: the cap, the gills, the stem, and the veil. Each part tells a story. The truth of the fungus is much bigger, and it starts by understanding the structure we can actually see.
So, for centuries, people just lumped fungi in with plants. But this table shows you just how wrong that was. Plants, they make their own food from sunlight. Animals, like us, we consume things. But fungi, they're decomposers. They digest their food on the outside and then absorb the nutrients. But here's the real kicker. Look at their cell walls. Plant cells have cellulose. Fungal cells have chitin, the exact same stuff that makes up the hard shells of insects and crabs. Genetically, fungi are way closer to being our cousins than they are to any plant. Which means, and this is wild, you have more in common with the mushroom on your pizza than that mushroom has with the tomato it's sitting next to.
So, if the mushroom isn't the main fungus, what is? Well, the real organism, the true body, is called the mycelium. And you shouldn't think of it as a single thing. It's more like a sprawling, web-like network of these tiny little threads called hyphae. This network is the fungus, and it can be huge, stretching for miles just beneath your feet. In fact, the largest known living organism on Earth is a mycelial mat in Oregon that covers almost 4 square miles. The mushroom that you see is just the temporary part that pops up to spread spores. The mycelium, that's the main event, living its life almost completely out of sight. And don't ever underestimate the power of these tiny threads. A single one is microscopic, sure, but when they work together, they have incredible strength. They can weave themselves together so tightly that they form that complex structure we call a mushroom. And that structure is just a brilliant piece of engineering. Think of the mushroom cap like an umbrella. Its main job is to shield the delicate gills underneath from rain and sun. And those gills, they're the mushroom's spore factory. Each one works tirelessly to produce and release millions of tiny seeds to find a new home. Of course, all of that needs to be held up high, and that's the job of the stem. The stem is like the mushroom's skyscraper, lifting that spore factory up into the air to catch the wind. And finally, when the mushroom is young, it's often protected by a veil. It's like the mushroom's baby blanket. As it grows, the blanket tears, leaving little clues behind, like a ring on the stem. This whole intricate structure, built from these tiny threads, can generate a mind-boggling amount of force, enough to push right up through an asphalt road. And get this, in lab experiments, some have even been shown to break through Kevlar. This is not some delicate little thing. It's a persistent and powerful force of nature.
Okay, so now that we know about the power of the individual fungus, let's zoom out a bit. Because fungi don't act alone. They are key players in this bustling, microscopic world that forms the very foundation of life on land, the soil ecosystem.
This quote is just the perfect analogy. The soil is absolutely teeming with trillions of bacteria and fungi, and their main job is to break down all the dead stuff,
leaves, roots, you name it, and lock up all those valuable nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus inside their own little bodies. They're basically hoarding the building blocks of life, creating millions and millions of tiny living fertilizer bags. Without them, all those nutrients would just wash away, leaving the soil totally barren.
But how do those nutrients get from the microbes to the plants? Well, that's where the next level of the food web kicks in. Tiny predators like protozoa and nematodes are constantly hunting and eating the bacteria and fungi. And because those microbes are so nutrient-rich, the predators just excrete the extra stuff they don't need right there in the root zone of the plants. So these little hunters act as fertilizer spreaders. They unlock the nutrients from the microbial bags and make them available for plants. It's this beautiful, efficient, self-sustaining system, a microscopic dance that powers entire ecosystems.
So, we have this foundation of microbes cycling nutrients. But some fungi take it a step further. They don't just participate in the soil food web, they create their own massive interconnected superhighway that links the entire forest together.
The term wood wide web, it just perfectly captures what's happening right under the forest floor. Those huge mycelial networks we talked about, they're not just eating dead stuff. Many of them are actively connected to the roots of living trees. And it's not just one tree and one fungus. It's a forest-wide biological internet connecting hundreds of trees, even different species, into one single community.
And this whole network is built on a two-way street, a fair trade. First, the tree, which makes sugar from sunlight, sends a huge chunk of that energy down to its roots to feed the fungus. The fungus can't make its own food, so it needs this. In exchange, the fungus, with its superfine network, acts like a massive root extension for the tree. It goes out and finds water and nutrients that the tree could never reach on its own and delivers them back. But it gets even crazier. The network acts like a communication channel. It can send nutrients from a big, healthy tree to a little seedling struggling in the shade. It can even send chemical warning signals from a tree that's being attacked by bugs to its neighbors so they have time to prepare their own defenses. It's a real community, all connected by this living, underground web.
This whole idea of connection and exchange leads us right to one of the most vital jobs that fungi and microbes have on a planetary scale: decomposition. Without them, there is no exchange, because pretty quickly, there would be no life. They are the great recyclers.
Think about it. Every leaf that falls, every animal that dies, every giant tree that comes crashing down, all of it is full of valuable stuff. Carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus. But it's all locked away. Fungi and bacteria are the master locksmiths of the natural world. They produce these powerful enzymes that can break down even the toughest materials, like wood. Without them, the world as we know it would just stop. The cycle of life would grind to a halt, and our planet would literally be buried under mountains of dead stuff.
And this slide, this really puts their impact into perspective. If you look at healthy soil, it's mostly minerals, water, and air. Organic matter is just a tiny slice. But look at the living organisms, the fungi, bacteria, all of it. They make up just 1% of the total volume. 1%. And yet that 1% is the engine that drives the entire system. It's their activity, their life and death, their recycling, that makes the other 99% a living, breathing thing that can support a forest, instead of just a pile of dead dust.
So, they're foundational, they're connectors, they're recyclers, but they are also unbelievably tough. Fungi have managed to colonize almost every environment on Earth, including some of the most hostile places you could possibly imagine.
Let's go to one of the most toxic places on the planet, the dead zone around Chernobyl. After the explosion in 1986, the radiation just ravaged the plants and animals. But when scientists sent in robots to investigate the highly radioactive reactor itself, they found something that wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. A dark black mold, a species of fungus, was growing all over the contaminated walls.
This is absolutely mind-blowing. These fungi weren't just putting up with the radiation, their little hyphae were actively growing towards it. It turns out they have a lot of melanin, the same stuff that darkens our skin to protect us from the sun, and somehow they're using that melanin to capture the energy from gamma radiation and turn it into chemical energy, kind of like how plants use chlorophyll to capture sunlight. So let that sink in. In one of the deadliest places on Earth, these organisms evolved to literally eat radiation. This discovery has opened up all sorts of new research, from creating radiation shields for astronauts to maybe even using these fungi to clean up nuclear waste sites.
So, given everything we've seen, their role in nutrient cycling, communication, extreme survival, it's really no surprise that we are now looking to this unseen kingdom for solutions to some of our biggest challenges. And we're already putting them to work in some incredible ways. In agriculture, we're using microbial pesticides, where the active ingredient is a specific fungus that only targets a single pest, without all the collateral damage of chemical sprays. We're rediscovering how to build healthier soil to prevent erosion and reduce the need for fertilizers. And of course, medicine. Penicillin, from a fungus, changed human history. Today, they're a source for everything from cholesterol drugs to medicine for organ transplants. It's a chemical treasure trove that we've barely even started to explore.
And the potential for what's out there is just staggering. Based on genetic sampling, scientists estimate there could be as many as 3.8 million different species of fungi on Earth. Just let that number sit for a second. An entire kingdom of life almost totally hidden from view.
Now compare that massive number to this one, 150,000. That's it. That's the number of fungal species we've actually identified and named, which means that over 95% of the entire fungal kingdom remains a complete and total mystery to science. It's a vast, unexplored frontier, and it's right here on our own planet, right under our feet.
So we end right back where we started, with a sense of wonder. We've seen that this unseen kingdom is so much more than mushrooms and mold. It's a world of planet-sized networks, of radiation-eating survivors, of the essential recyclers that make all life on Earth possible. And if all this is just what we've learned from the tiny fraction we actually know about, well, it leaves you with a really profound question. What other secrets, what other solutions are just waiting to be discovered in the world right beneath our feet?